one recall. This is an entire page full of recalls, and it's all stupid garbage. Do not drive warnings, wrong taillights. People are just getting sloppy. Even these cars were shipped with the incorrect owner's manual in the glove box. Car makers are making stupid mistakes. Stellantis is running mainly the American car company, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. They're running all of that into the ground. Honda's partnering up with GM, which is ridiculous. By the way, the GM vehicle is going terribly, right? Cars are piling up at dealerships because they cannot sell them, right? Volkswagen, bigger car companies, are falling in sales, which is ridiculous. Their shares are going down, and we're headed face first into a recession. If you look at this, you may say, wow, that's pretty fucking crazy. And you are very right by thinking that. Car companies are getting sloppier, car prices are skyrocketing, and Ford just continued its two most popular models. So the vehicles that you can buy, you can't anymore. The only vehicles that you can buy are EVs and pieces of shit. The Nissan Ariya also has just so many other recalls for all the stupid crap. Hyundai recalls the Santa Fe, which hasn't only been out for a month. Unintentional airbag defection or deployment. Great, amazing. Car companies are getting worse. So, right, keep in mind all this, right? The auto industry is just nuts. That's just, when I say that, I'm talking about all of this, right? So let's talk about why are used Lexus prices so damn high. Now, you may look at this, and on the outside, it looks like a 2004 Lexus LS base. It should go for $1,000, right? It's just an old Lexus. What makes this car worth almost as much, well, actually, yeah, as this brand new Mitsubishi Mirage? This is the top spec, by the way. This is the nicest Mirage you can buy. And yet, this car started off $19,500, and that is actually less expensive than the Lexus. So why are Lexus prices so amazingly high? This isn't just for this model, this is for so many other models. Well, if you look on Reddit, or really anywhere, you'll notice so many, especially on the Lexus tab, so many people just buying old Lexuses. People are finally tired of this crap. Car makers have known for years that if they build their cars cheaply and shittily, that they're not, number one, they're not going to sell. Number two, their sales are going to go down, and so is their shares in their company eventually. And recalls are going to be thrown out like candy on Halloween. That's what's happening right now. And they knew that because of all these things, right, people are going to turn to used cars. But they didn't know, exactly how that would happen. We're seeing it right now. People are throwing in the towel. They're saying, you want to know what? Modern cars suck. I refuse to buy a modern car. I'm just going to buy an old Lexus. And I'm going to tell you right now on this video why they're right. So, from the outside, this may just seem like a weird old Lexus from the 1990s, right? It looks old, it feels old, it looks like your grandpa's Lexus. But actually, this is one, if not the best built car in the world. This had an MSRP of around $80,000 in 2004, in today's money, right? Around $50,000 back then. And that's very much an expensive car, right? This looks like an old grandpa car, but actually this will run for millions upon millions of miles. So if we already know that, Toyota and Lexus, what's the difference? Why are people buying Lexuses? Well, I've always said if you're going to buy used, you might as well buy the nicer version of the car that you want. Let's say I want to buy a Mitsubishi Mirage, but I can only afford the base model. If I go back a few years, instead of buying a base model, but a couple years older, because that car will have depreciated and the price is lower, why wouldn't I just buy a nicer Mitsubishi Mirage, maybe a couple trim levels up for the same price as the new one? That's essentially what people are doing with Lexuses, except this is the base, right? And yet this price is still high. So why is that? Lexus is just a nice Toyota. Lexus is essentially, in the older versions, a trim level, right? Something nicer. They were their own cars. They were separately made. But yes, Lexus is kind of like a status symbol, right? And these cars run forever. And, usually when you buy a used car that runs forever, right, you get like a Toyota Tercel, just some crappy old car that, you're embarrassed to, ride around in. This thing is stinking beautiful. And again, another question. If all that is true, why aren't we seeing higher prices in Mercedes, BMWs, other fancy, nice German cars, Mitsubishi, other Japanese brands, Japanese luxury brands like Infiniti, partially? Because, well, number one, we are, especially in Mercedes and BMW, and just because they're cool. And number three, right, and Number one, yes, we are. Number two, because Lexus, be honest, they're just built better. Yes, BMW is sporty. Yes, Mercedes is nice. I can guarantee that every single feature on this car right now works. A Mercedes, give it 2 or 3 years, things are going to start creaking, buttons are going to stop working. That's just the normal order. BMWs completely fall apart. The trim levels fall off, things pop out, motors die. Lexuses don't die. They have that Toyota engineering. It's one thing for it to just be reliable, right? Like, let's say a Toyota Camry. It's a reliable car. But let's say in this alternate universe, the interior is shittily, right? The air conditioning stops working, the screen stops working, the power steering goes out. That's no longer reliable. Even if the engine is a literal tank engine, like literally will not die, everything has to be reliable. And that's exactly what Lexuses are. For the most part, everything works, right? Lexus over-engineered this so much, and not in a bad way where your tailgate can fold into an origami cat like what GMC is doing for some reason. No, over-engineered in a good way, to not break, to not be a piece of shit. And people are recognizing that and buying these cars. Perfect, you have transportation, right? This is a good car. It will last millions upon millions of miles, and it's not going to be trouble-free miles, and it's not going to be, oh, well, I'm roughing it out here in the wild. You have heated and cooled seats, automatic front seats, It's just a normal car, because this car, which was so over-engineered in the 90s and early thousands, keeps up with cars today. This is about as luxurious as, like, what is it, top trim Highlander with the heated and cooled seats and dual front automatic driver seats. This is definitely nicer than your average new car, right? This is just what we're seeing, right? The auto industry is being so two-tiered. You have the Santa Fe's of the world, and again, the Santa Fe used to be I want to talk about this again. A great example of how the car industry is turning itself, the Santa Fe. It used to be a small, cheap, reliable SUV that you could buy if you just wanted something somewhat reliable and okay, good looking. Now it's this behemoth third-row SUV that is an HEV, which is very, very weird. Yeah, it's ugly, it's huge, and it's unaffordable. That's what they're turning every single car into. It's like an example, two-tiered policing. There's a two-tiered automotive system, right? At the bottom tier, you have Toyotas, Mitsubishis, car brands like that, right? That are actually affordable, where their top models aren't that expensive, right? They're just good old budget brands. And for Lexus, Acura is in there as well, just because they're built so well, it's worth the price, right? And then iPhones. And then you have this upper echelon, which is the Fords that may be cheap but fall apart, the Cadillac EVs that crumble, the Jeeps that cry when they see a trail, the Genesees that catch on fire, the Hyundais and Kias that catch on fire. Just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. This is just what the car market's happening. So no wonder people are flocking to these older, better cars just because they're built better. And shitification has infected everything from Casio watches, if you watch Dankpot's channel. As you know, I have about 20. Yes, I can say I have bought some used 90s ones. They're in better condition than the ones that I got brand new from Casio. So, if you're going to buy a used Lexus, let's say you watch this video and you figured out, you want to know what? Screw the car industry. I'm going to go used. I'm going to buy a used Lexus LS or some Lexus, and that's what I'm going to do. And you want to know what? I'll be fine. And I'm here to tell you exactly why you're right. So, I have a list of things pulled up here, and then I'm going to kind of judge my own cars. At the end, I actually pulled up listings of pretty much my exact same cars, color, stuff like that. Not really mileage, because, my car's mileage are definitely higher than the ones that I have here. But, still. So, if you're buying a used Lexus LS, I have a few of them pulled up here. Yep. Yeah, and actually a decent amount. There are different things you can do. So the LS430, specifically from 1999 to about 2005, is what most people are buying, right? It's luxurious, it's cheap, and it's pretty, right? Well, it used to be cheap. Now, the base model doesn't come with a screen, but it still has some features that you may want. I will say, the only thing you really have to worry about with these cars, which, believe you me, isn't a hell of a lot, is the air suspension. If you get a nicer one with the air suspension, you may have some issues, my friend, right? You may just have some issues along the way. Not because the air suspension system is bad, just because air suspension as a whole isn't reliable. There's so many different moving parts. No matter what brand it is, the suspension's going to give out after a few thousand miles, right? So, let's just talk about it. If I were to buy one, right, what would I buy? Definitely go for the top trim level. As I said, if you're going to buy used and if you're going to pay as much as a new car, definitely get it. And again, the big statement here, right, the justification is it costs as much as a new car for being a 20-year-old car, but it's going to last longer than a new car, even with hundreds of thousands of miles on it, just because Lexus over-engineered these so good. Now, people like to make the statement that Lexus nowadays isn't bad. I completely disagree. Lexus still has plenty of luxurious vehicles, and I think they're pretty much still exactly where they were in the 90s, with some quality control issues, of course. Modern brands, that's just what happens, but yeah. So you can definitely see different modes, traction control, your rear sun visor, just a classic car, right? Then you have that V8. Surprisingly, it gets pretty good gas mileage for being a V8 and that gigantic, huge trunk. If you want like a luxurious land yacht, this is that. It drives well. You don't feel the bumps. You know, if you drive in something cheaper like a Mitsubishi, it creates bumps that aren't even there. This thing will smooth them out. It's a luxurious sedan, you know. And again, just because of how well Lexus built these, the suspension on this is nicer than a brand new car. The interior is nicer than a brand new car. With, like I said, hundreds of thousands of miles on it. 18 city, 25 highway, ain't that bad. Now, some of these are rear-wheel drive. That was just the standard for luxury cars. Now, again, it's all about style and stuff, and, you know, whether you want to, whether you want to mod it or not, you know, that's all up to you. But essentially, pretty safe. These Lexuses are some of the most reliable ones in the world. Now, it's lovely if everyone could just drive sedans around, but unfortunately, some of us live in some pretty rocky terrain. So if you need an SUV, I'd recommend the RXs. Now, I remember this is the front-wheel drive version. I also have the all-wheel drive version here for us to look at. This is the one that I would purposefully buy. Now, the Lexus RX actually started the SUV craze back in the 90s, just because it was so forward-thinking, it was so round, it was so gummy, you know, like that new 90s, you know, going into 2000s styling. People ate it up, other car brands tried to copy it, and then that's what sent the Comet in the direction that it's currently in. So, let's say you just need an SUV, you know, again, front-wheel drive is perfect if you have ground clearance. This car has ground clearance for days. Now, again, you will need to shine the headlights. Come on, it's a 20-year-old car, right? Again, just a very, very nice car. These cars have pretty much lasted forever. They've done a great job at holding up, which is why you see so many of them on the road. Now, RX prices are a little bit cheaper than the LX. Again, remember, this will not be as nice. This is $17,000. You can buy a 2015 RAV4 for that, but no. This is the RX 330 all-wheel drive. Not bad. This has an gas V6. Again, EVs, I think as a whole, they're terrible. They have tons of useless, stupid garbage in them. The thing that bothers me the most about EVs isn't the technology. The technology's fine. I have zero issue with EVs. The idea of a battery electric vehicle. The execution is terrible. First of all, shoving it down our throats, making us buy EVs when we don't want it. The government mandates from California saying that cars, hey, you know, put up or shut up. You know, you need to make EVs or you will not sell here or we will tax the hell out of you. That's absolutely ridiculous. The car market has always been in the hands of the people. If a car company doesn't make cars that people want, they go bankrupt. Oh well. Now the entire car industry is in the hands of the government. That is not at all how it should be for anything, for that matter, right? You know, just let the car market govern itself. Now, safety, yes. What type of cars they make? No, that's up to them. The buyers will choose what they want, and then cars will go on from there. Again, the SUV craze wasn't the government mandating that, you know, car companies make EVs. That was buyers telling car companies, hey, we live in remote areas. We need some sort of SUV. And then them saying, okay, fine. That's fine. That's exactly how it should go. And also, people just saying that they're the answer. When actually, they're worse than combustion engine cars, right? When, you know, checking out exactly how much the battery alone puts into the environment, just for making the lithium, the cobalt, the everything. And then seeing how much the power grid uses. Coal. Our power grid is 80% non-renewable resources. And again, people are so entranced. Car companies, the only reason why, you may say, if all this is true, why would car companies go after battery electric vehicles instead of continuing to make the cheaper combustion engine cars? That's actually a lie manufactured by the auto industry. Battery electric vehicles are usually cheaper to make than the average combustion engine car. Why? Think about how solid metal engine with so many different moving parts, yada, 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 yada. Battery electric vehicles, there's battery, there's a motor, strap a bunch of crap to it, that's how it works, right? Again, they're slightly more expensive. I made a talking error there. They are slightly more expensive, maybe $500 to $1,000 more than the regular variant. Like the e-Golf was more expensive for Volkswagen to make than the regular Golf. But the Nissan Ariya starting at $40,000, the GM EV starting at $50,000, and the truck starting at $80,000 is not at all justified when their starting prices should be very similar, if not only $1,000 higher than the regular versions. The only reason why car industry, again, Toyota has not done this, Lexus has not done this, Subaru has definitely not done this, they just made a shut up EV to tell people to stop asking questions. The only reason why they're pushing battery electric vehicles is because it's just slightly more expensive for them to make and all the more expensive for you to buy. And if you ever complain about that, they can say, well, let's just buy a combustion engine car and kill the environment. It's perfect for them. They get to gouge money out of you, and you're the bad person if you say no. It's what they've been looking for, right? And Toyota not doing this, really, they could make money with such high profit margins making EVs, and yet they don't because they care about not screwing off their customers. Again, like I said, what annoys me about EVs and why I hate them, I don't hate the technology. I think it has its place. The e-Golf was perfect. But I think that car companies screwing us over and banning internal combustion engine cars are bad. And again, by the time that our power grid would ever be ready to sustain EVs, first of all, running on 80% fossil fuels now, if everyone had an EV, we wouldn't be able to sustain it. If we upgraded the power grid and made it all renewable, that would take us million years. A lot of people don't understand just how complex the power grid is. Every pole, every power plant, every transmission line, just to be able to take the toll that EVs take would be so cost expensive to do that when we could just do hydrogen cars, right? Again, what do you think is easier? Switching the entire United States power grid from non-renewable resources to renewable resources in, I don't know, a million years? And again, I'm not exaggerating. It would probably actually take a million years. Or we find a better way to make a battery that's maybe a little bit more efficient but a little bit bigger and doesn't catch on fire like the solid-state battery that Toyota and Mazda and other car companies are already working on. I think the batteries, because technically, yes, hydrogen cars use batteries too. They're essentially just battery electric vehicles with a generator. But at the same time, they are actually renewable and they will not shut our entire power grid down. Which is why, if I would rather buy just one of those than an EV. I like the electric drive Merc. I like the e-Golf. But the hydrogen car is just the answer, Don't pretend like you're saving the world. You're not. You just got gouged by a stupid car company and are trying to make yourself feel better about doing it. This is another example. So, let's say you want an EV. These are more pavement princesses, right? This is like driving to work, driving home. Very modern as well. I mean, I would guess that this car was made in 2012, not 2005. More like 2015. This is if you just want like a cheap off-roader, still luxurious, but just a little bit less. Right, again, no buttons on the steering wheel, just pretty standard. You have your standard screen. Just a normal standard Lexus SUV. Again, the leather is supple. It will last forever. This is if you want a lighter SUV. Now, the thing that you have to understand about the Lexus LX, it is a tank. And I mean, it's heavy like a tank. It is solid like a tank. It's not fun to drive like a tank. So what I mean by that, it's luxurious, and what I mean, it's slow and you don't feel anything. That V8 isn't bred to like a track hawk, vroom you around the track. That V8's designed to just murmur sweet whispers in your ear as you're driving down. If you want like what I like to call the lighter sedan, just something you can pop groceries in and pop over, kind of fun to drive, you can rev it high if you want to, is the ES. It's essentially just a luxurious Toyota Corolla. Prices for these have raised the least out of Lexus models. They were already high to begin with. These, a lot of times, have been driven very frequently, which is why you're going to see these in a lot worse shape. But, yeah, these are perfectly good cars, too. I would totally buy one of these. The leather is perfect. The interior is gorgeous. Everything was built and designed with purpose. These cars last just as long as the Camry, with just a little bit of a luxurious kick. Now, $10,000 isn't as high as the $20,000 LX or the $15,000 RX LS. But it is still high for a 20-year-old car. Here's another one. This is a 2003 Lexus ESV 300 base. Not bad. Just, as I said before, just a normal car. This has the cherry, fun, hippy-dippy wood if you want that. Not bad at all. Still, again, a very nice car. This is Lexus. The base trim is more features than you would ever need. So, now we're coming to the end of the video. Again, really quickly, which one of these would I buy? I'd buy the all-wheel drive 2005. Hey, all-wheel drive 2005. It's the most modern. I like it the most. It's the prettiest color. I like this gray. It looks great on Lexuses. So, this channel is very interesting. A lot of people think I am very much younger than I actually am, which I find very interesting. Maybe I just have a tiny little baby voice. I actually do own 2 cars. Now, I'm going to be judging my own cars and seeing if they have been infected by enshittification. So, the first car I bought, my first car was the 2012 Toyota Prius, which I still own. I bought this later on just as like a grocery getter, Now, what I like about it, it's just so cute, drive around the neighborhood. It's speedy enough for me. Again, I don't care. I just care about efficiency. I own the base model. The touring wasn't worth it for me. Like I said, I'm just getting groceries. I don't care if the seats are leather or not. The beige interior is the best. Red with beige interior. I don't care if it's a Ferrari. I don't care if it's a Prius. I don't care if it's a Civic. It's always one of the best combinations in car history. I love it. It drives fine. It's perfect. I have owned this thing for a year. Again, this is my newer car. For about a year, I haven't had 0 issues with it. I change the oil. I fill it up with gas. That's it. Maybe I'll replace the timing belt. Timing belt. It's just, not important. Not important at all. Again, that timing belt thing. It's very weird. There's like nothing connected to it. It's very fun. Anyway, this is just a grocery getter. I would say this hasn't been infected by enshittification. Lexuses are good, but the Prius is really like a Toyota exclusive unless you get the HS. Buy it totally. I've had 0 issues with it. A million trouble-free miles. It's perfect, it's perfect for me, and it works great. My second car, which is, I had to buy something practical, was this 2012 Toyota Prius. Now, this is the 3, but it's actually a 5. I have the Navi and heads-up display. That was very nice. I was really looking for that. Now, I have the tan. I just like tan interiors. I have, like, the seashell blue. This is, like, the harder blue instead of the seashell green. That seafoam green So, this isn't the right color, but it's the right mileage. Mine's at 180 as well. I got mine for about $9,000. Now, here's perfect. Really quickly, just a tiny little note. If you're shopping for a 3rd-generation Prius, again, do not buy the 2010. Piston ring problems out the wazoo. Can't blame Toyota for that. I mean, you can, but it was the 1st generation. Come on, get them some slack. Again, I would say that for any car company, not just Toyota. They think it's a 3. This is a 5. This is the nicest trim level. Now, what hints me at that? Again, I bought my car as like a 2, I think. It was not a 2 at all. First of all, it has the leather interior, which was not available on the 3. It has the bigger, nicer touchscreen, which was not available on the 3. And it has the heads-up display, which was not available on the Prius 3. The Prius 3 had again, trim level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then Persona was kind of like a 3 going into 4, but just like the sporty trim level for the Prius. Toyota really had no idea what they were doing for that, but hey, doesn't really matter. So, they think it's a 3. It's actually a 5, which makes it worth about $12,000. I bought mine for cheap, just like this one. Heated seats, just perfect. This car, it's very sad to talk bad about it, because I've owned this thing for about 2.5 years now. Not bad at all. It's actually great. The sad thing, I will say it has been affected by enshittification. I've seen it. This is the 2012, the first year it was redesigned. I wanted a 2011 just because I like that goobery face, but I ended up getting this one. The dashboard is fine. It's a little bit cheap feeling. The interior is a little bit creaky. It's put together very well. I've never had any issues with it. By the way, the first thing I did was take those hideous hubcaps off and replace them with the previous facelift one, because those are hideous. And they're just so ugly. But, I will say, there are bits of this Prius which I don't feel are as sturdy as the original. Well, the original as the earlier one. But I will say this is still a very good car. I would buy the older generation over this one just because it's a little bit more reliable, in my opinion. I've changed more things on this car. Again, it does have more mileage. But, So with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. If you're buying a used Lexus, that's fine. I commend you. You found something that works in a world of just broken garbage that doesn't work at all. I'm just happy you were able to swim your way out of the swamp, right?